problem, or the most concerning thing I've seen, was the administration's attitudes towards habeas corpus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those who don't know Latin, habeas corpus means show me the body. Okay, that's the idea that the government just can't send guys with a black van in a black suit and grab people and not tell you where they are. They can't kill them, torture them, or just exile them to another country. The king cannot do that. And this comes down to one of the most basic civil rights. I'd have to double check, but I think it might even be in the Magna Carta. Or if it's not in the Magna Carta, there's a long tradition of this, particularly in the British legal system, that the monarch, the magistrate, they just can't go around randomly grabbing people off the street. And, this is one of the most important laws, okay? This means you can't get a knock in the night and be dragged away like the Stasi did in East Germany, or the KGB did in the Soviet Union, or what they've done in Cuba or in North Korea or China and other places. But the minute you say, habeas corpus, it's overrated, or look, there's a lot of exceptions to it, and we're just kind of that, or we're just going to flat out ignore it. I would say out of everything that the Trump administration done, their attitude towards habeas corpus is the number one most concerning thing, because you can tell a lot about a government by the way it relates to habeas corpus. This is a law that should have near sacred status.
And the way they justify it, at least what I've heard, is, well, we're only taking people who aren't citizens who should be deported anyway. But it's a circular argument, because how do you know they're here illegally unless they have a day in court where charges are brought against them and they have a chance to defend themselves? Habeas corpus just says we're doing what's right and don't second guess us. Don't allow the courts to see this. So this check on monarchical power that goes back to the Magna Carta, that is a foundation for American law as well, it is critical. Where do you see, everything we've talked about up to this point has been largely just politics, secular law, and the norms of a pluralistic democratic society. Where do you see these kinds of values rooted in Scripture? Why should we advocate as Christians for something like habeas corpus?
Well, I think it comes down to the commands of Jesus to love your neighbor. Now, your neighbor, regardless of whether they are someone who was born in America, someone who has, migrated legally, whether they're undocumented or not, you still have to love their neighbor. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a particular view of, immigration law. There'll be a diversity of views about immigration law and how you secure a border and everything else. But you are required as a Christian to love your neighbor, irrespective of their migrant status in America or their citizenship. And to love your neighbor means you at least, in the very least, have to make sure they are treated fairly and equally before the law. So nobody can just be dragged and taken away. Everyone has the right to judicial review. Even if they are an undocumented migrant, maybe they have a legitimate reason for being there. Maybe they've got a refugee visa that is in the process of being expedited. Maybe they've simply overstayed. Oh, look, there's all sorts of reasons we could go into. But everyone's got that right. So I think, you're not required to simply sign off in anyone's immigration policy, left wing or right wing. But, the idea that you should love your neighbor and love means equality before the law, I think that's a pretty good inference.
Yeah, I think I agree entirely. The idea that we can debate what the laws ought to be is one thing. The idea that the law should be equally applied, whatever it is, to everyone, is what we should agree on. And beyond what you've already said, there's both Old Testament and New Testament argument that God does not show favoritism and that laws are to be applied impartially. That's one of the significant contributions of the Mosaic law, is that there is to be no favoritism, whether someone is enslaved or someone is a nobleman. The law applies equally to them. And we get the command in the New Testament to not show favoritism because someone has wealth or power in the church, but to treat all with equality. So these ideas of human dignity before the law and equal treatment before the law are deeply rooted in our faith. And yet the irony is that there are a lot of evangelical Americans who don't seem to mind that we're no longer applying the law equally because certain people don't deserve it, which is a flagrant contradiction of our Christian faith.
That's exactly right. I mean, if you abolish equality before the law, you've got the problem of when that equality, is abolished for you.
Yeah.
So,
but there's the assumption it won't ever happen to me or my group, so it's
okay. And if you think, I want to get rid of equality before the law, well, be careful what you ask for, because if you give the tyrant a big stick, that stick can be used on you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, and this isn't just true on the MAGA right, but I think there are some people on the left who are also...
Oh, definitely.
They're also souring on the principles of a democratic, pluralistic society, and they also want more of an authoritarian instinct to push their policies and agendas.
I've seen that in places as well, yeah. But it's not just on the conservative right. There are progressive left-wing attempts for a more top-down, state knows best type of government, and you can see that in various places around the world.